Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another TCP in the Morning Newsbreak. Listen, guys, I am so honored to introduce our guest with us today. Our guest today has been in the arts and services community for over 40 years. He's provided leadership, inspiration, and technical assistance across the country, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. One of his most recent projects can actually be seen at the Capitol about the 8th Ward. Let's welcome historian, philanthropist, creative director, arts educator, and so much more, living legend, Mr. Lenwood Sloan. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you very much. Young leaders and great warriors of culture and heritage. Like justice, equity, parity, or like a muscle that has to continuously be exercised in America. And unless we as people of color push that muscle forward, it will atrophy. So
I love that. And I love that you're encouraging us to push those muscles because it can get tiring.
It can. Every generation, that's why I'm so excited about the work of TCP and the young folks in Lancaster who are carrying the charge and challenge that grew up through Lancaster's Black Lives Matters movement, because we forget that it's young people, Rosa Parks was 23 years old when she started in the movement. We forget that. We think of her as an old gray-haired lady. It was the kids in Birmingham. It was the young students that Mandela organized in South Africa. It was the students at Tiananmen Square, so it's always been young people carrying the torch, and I'm excited about a new generation of leaders coming up through the BIPOC community in Lancaster.
And that's awesome. And that's what it's about, creating these connections between the generations and just, passing on the torch. Here's the knowledge that we've acquired over the years, and then we're giving it to you. There's like an old African proverb that talks about whenever an elder dies, a library is burnt to the ground.
Right. And that's really actually one of the primary reasons that we are doing this pop-up exhibit at the Ware this Friday. We realized that a generation of elders are dying, not only because of COVID, but because of lives well lived and long lived, and that their memories, their stories are passing with them. Also, we realized that in the homes of our parents and our grandparents, in the attic, in the basement, under the bed, in the back of the closet, in the family Bible, are photographs and artifacts, memorabilia, marriage license, baptismals, death certificates that tell the story of the diaspora of our people and the lineage. And that it's an important time for us for young people who have been reignited in their histories through things like Ancestor.com and through Gates's program on PBS. People are interested in who they are, where they came from, what was their struggle, and that it's time for those young people to sit with their elders before those stories, which are blueprints of the struggle, are lost, and look at those artifacts and look at those memories and record them, pass them down to the generations as blueprints for the struggle, keep them as the treasures. We we have museums in our own homes. We have collections of things that are precious and dear to us. And it's time that we pass those stories down. Also, it's time that the young folks who are in the digital generation help their elders digitize those artifacts so that they're not lost. One fire, one flood of your basement, and your family's history and legacy are gone. So we are doing a Zoom pop-up museum from 3 to 5 p.m. on a Friday. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we had hoped that people actually would come in to where we're not allowed to bring people because of the rise of COVID. But if you go to the Ware's website, you'll be able to join us. There'll be 5 families, all diverse families, Asian families, Jewish families, Pennsylvania Dutch, German families, African American families, Latinx families, who will be sharing their stories and their artifacts with each other to look at those things that they have in common and those things that are different, where their stories and their crossroads match. And a group of historians and scholars and educators whom we call history detectives will be working with the state archives to show families how to protect and preserve those artifacts for the next generation, and also how to digitize them to build in our state museums and our historic collections. This is the Conestoga Lodge marching band, and our intention originally was for this to be a public exhibit where you could come into the Ware and you could look at these pictures, looking at the Polite family in the foreground, but looking at all the other people in the background. We want people to help us identify, who are these people? Right. Where are they now? Do you see your grandmother as one of those majorettes, or your great grandmother? Who are they now? Where are their people? What are they doing? How are they adding to the tapestry of Lancaster? And how are they contributing to the building of this community? So the 5 families loaned us artifacts with the intent of us placing them on websites and asking the community help us identify who these other heroes and sheroes are. I love this picture. This is a Masonic Lodge parade through the Southeast neighborhood. Of course, we know that Abraham Polite and Nelson Polite Sr. were Grand Masters of the Lodge. But the question is, who are these other men standing along the way? And what do we know as a community about these other people? People say to us, oh, it's my grandfather was just a pullman on the railroad. And we say, do you know about the Brotherhood of the Sleeping Car Porters? Do you know that they were one of the first organized Black unions in the country? Do you know that we're hoping that people take the workshop on Zoom by going to the Ware Center, and that they go into their own homes before Friday and pull out a couple pictures, and we'll describe the different photography techniques. We'll ask you to look for things on the back of the pictures, help us date them, scan them and digitize them and send them to us so that we can put them into the tapestry and the history. And we hope that through this process of 5 diverse cultures, all that have struggled for equity and parity in common, that we could begin to create a common ground and a common experience. And more importantly, we'll create memory boxes about diverse cultures that we place in the library.
Mr. Sloan, one more time before we get off the call, what's happening on Friday, January 7th at the Ware Center?
So from 3 to 5 o'clock at the Ware Center, 5 diverse cultural families whose diaspora have brought them to Lancaster will do tabletop exhibitions of their family artifacts. In the first hour, the 5 families will present their artifacts. In the second hour, the state archives of Pennsylvania will talk to those families and to those guests who log in about how to take care of and protect those artifacts. And also, each family will be assigned a historian and a student from PCAD's Black Student, Pennsylvania College of Art and Design's Black Student Organization. Each family will have a historian and a PCAD student to help them build an exhibition of their family's pieces that we hope to be able to show to the public in April, on the first Friday of April. So this is a workshop. If you're interested in genealogy, if you're interested in old photography, if you inherited something from your family, bring it along, take the workshop, you'll find out something about it. There'll also be a number at the end where we ask you to take a picture and scan it. We'll help you identify it later on, so this is a cookbook for culture and a way of building all of our histories into one great tapestry. I want to end by saying my father used to say that rich people hold our coats while we fight each other about turf. And my father used to say, you have to have turf before you can have turf wars. So we're saying to all these different cultures, check your weapons at the door and bring your common stories to the table. There's a place at the table. Let's start by rebuilding our history and rebuilding our respect for the struggle of our ancestors. Every one of them was a hero and a shero, and let's save our own history, tell our own stories, and build our own memory boxes to place into the American.
Yes. And that's exactly what it's about, getting our own stories out there, right? Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Sloan. Hey guys, thank you for tuning into TCP in the Morning for another news break. Don't forget, you can go ahead and visit the Ware Center's website and you can register for the Zoom for the crossroads.
Memories at the crossroads.
Memories of the crossroads. Yeah.
Bring your memories to the crossroads through this technology.
Awesome. Stay tuned for more TCP in the Morning. Thanks again, Mr. Sloan.